Hey everybody, welcome back to Trinity Dairy. Don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the link down below for our merch store, and check out some of our old videos if you're new to the channel. It's April 25th today, 2022. It's pretty cold out today. I think it's a high of about 35 degrees. Our snow is pretty much gone now, but temperature just doesn't quite want to warm up yet. But anyway, what I'm going to be working on today, we got one of our 830 cases in here. I actually had this in the garage all winter. My intention was to work on it over the winter, but it was so cold I don't have really good heat in this garage, and it's kind of miserable working in here. So since it's going to be rainy and stuff, we're going to work on this now. All right, what I'm doing on this, I am going to pull the fuel tank. This fuel tank, well, it's not the original one anyway, but it's got a couple spots where it leaks underneath, so I think I'm going to get a different tank for it. But the reason I'm pulling it off, the main reason it's in here, the throttle linkage here, you can see I got a hose clamp clamping it together. You got a hand throttle and a foot throttle, and something's worn under there. So if you got the hand throttle set, it'll pop loose and it'll idle back down. So if you got, that's not good if you got it on silo blower or something like that. So I got it clamped together now so I can set the throttle, but then you can't use the foot throttle. So that's what we're going to do. I got the exhaust off. I pulled the air stack off. So now I just got to take the hood loose, take the dash loose, and then I did drain the fuel out of it the other day. So I just pulled the fitting off and drained it out there. So yeah, we'll get that off and see if we can get the tank off, and then see what that throttle bushing is looking like. You can see here there's one spot here where this mount is where it must be leaking because the washers are all shiny. So it must have a crack around that, where that stud comes out of there. And then there's this bowl here. It's supposed to be, I think, a petcock on the bottom to drain any water out, and that's been replaced with some kind of homemade plug at one time, and I know that leaks too, so get that taken care of. There we go. Forgot about the fuel gauge. Alright. Alright, well, that went pretty well getting the tank off of there. Now I can show you what I was talking about with that throttle. So this is your linkage here. I've got the foot throttle unhooked right now, but that hooks to this piece here, and it moves this back and forth. But then you've got a piece here, so this can move independently of the hand throttle. And this is from your hand throttle here. You can see what's happening. It jumps up. Too much slop in there, so I got to pull this apart and see what's going on in there and try to get that squeezed back together. So we'll dig into that a little more and see what we come up with. Alright, so I guess all that is just a big steel bushing, and then this is a big roll pin here that it hinges on, and that bushing just taps down on there and holds everything together. I guess that bushing must have just slid. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see if there's some way I can tighten that up a little bit better, but we'll clean that all up so it moves good. It might have bound up and just started working that bushing back and forth too. So we'll take this apart a little more and see if we can clean it up a little better. Well, I think what I'm going to have to do, I can get it good and tight on there, so I mean, there's no play in there now. But as I work the throttle lever back, this works its way up. So I think I'm going to have to just put a tack weld from this bushing to this roll pin, just enough to keep that, from sliding back up, because otherwise I think it's just going to keep doing the same thing. But that shouldn't hurt anything, I don't think. It can. I got them all greased in between the levers and everything, so they should move fine on their own. But I think that's going to work its way back up and cause me more grief. So, but anyway, for right now, I'll clean this up a little bit more and see if I can get a tack weld on there, and then we'll try that, see how it goes. The bad part with it is if you have to get at it again, you got to pull the whole tank off again. But that's part of the reason I want to try tacking it, so I don't have to, hopefully have to get back in here. All right, I got the welder hooked up. I got a spot ground there. Get a good ground. Got the welder here. So I'll try my hand with the wire feed. Like I said, it's just a little tack, so we'll see what happens. Well, I might put a little bit more on there, but we'll run it a little bit and see if it's gonna hold it tight before I get too carried away. But I think even that's probably enough. Seems to be holding good, so I'm gonna just maybe put a little bit more on there just for safety's sake, I guess, and then we'll call that part good. Wire feed welding is pretty new to me. This is only about the second or third time I've even done it, so but I think I'm getting better at it. There we go. That'll be plenty. I don't want to get too carried away, but that way if I ever do need to get it off, I can just grind that weld out of there and pop it off. Otherwise, I think you could probably drive that roll pin out of there too, but I think that'll be fine. I don't really see any reason why I would have to take that back off of there again. So now I got to find a tank. So I'll probably today's Monday. Probably tomorrow maybe I'll run down. We got a tractor salvage yard not too far from here. See what he's got for tanks, and I might try to clean up some of this wiring under this dash a little bit. That's kind of been wired and rewired many times, and kind of a mess under there. I might try to straighten some of that up too, as long as I got it apart. But for right now, we will call this project good until I can find a tank. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's a couple days later now. Back in the shop here. I did get a different tank. Seems like a pretty good tank. It's clean, good and clean inside, seems solid. That's off an 830. This one here, like I said before, this wasn't the original tank. This was off an 800 case, so it was a little bit different. It didn't have any of the decaling on the sides, and it didn't have the mounts to bolt the hood and the dash to, like an 831 had. So it'll be nice to have those back on there. The only difference is the decaling on this is for a dual range transmission, and this is a Case-O-Matic, but I'm not worried about that. It's not getting restored. And then I'll put that cab back on. That'll cover that up anyway. So but it looks solid. The only thing I had to do to it, when I got it home, I went to put the mounting studs in, and this one had been broken off inside. So I drilled into the center of it, heated it up, quenched it, and got it out of there. Came out all right. I did wind up drilling through the stud that was in there, but it doesn't seem... I kept drilling and measuring, making sure I wasn't going too deep. But it doesn't seem... I filled that hole up with some... just some brake clean last night and let it sit a while, or some penetrating oil, I mean, and let it sit there. It didn't leak down or anything. So, and I still checked my measurement. I think it almost seems like that stud might have broken off in a couple places in there. There might be a little chunk left in there, but it's deep, way down in there. So I'll have plenty of thread to grab to. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Throttle linkage is fixed. I didn't do anything with the wiring yet, but I was kind of looking under there, and I don't think, other than tidying up kind of what's along the edge here, that stuff under the dash, better off to just leave. And then I also have, I'm going to get the lights going back on here again, as long as I've got it in here. I've got some LED replacement bulbs for these factory lights, so I don't have to mount some of those other kind of aftermarket lights on. I put one in at 1256 when I got them, and it seems like they're nice and bright, so I'm going to try them on here too. But anyway, now let's get the tank on and see how that goes. I think what happened with this old tank started leaking on the one mount is the rubber pads that they sit on had broken down. Well, here's one of the original ones. Not much of it left. Fuel and stuff, I think, has broken them down. And it was sitting around on the steel, and I kind of wonder if that didn't have something to do with this leaking. So I had an old mud flap here I cut some new discs out of, and I think those will work pretty well. So we'll get it on here and see what happens. Hook the fuel gauge up first. It's just terminal here, and then one wire.
What does it say? Dual ramp drive diesel?
Dual range.
Dual range drive diesel.
Okay, I had to get a different battery for the camera because that died out on me. But before I did that, I did get the fuel gauge wire tightened up. I just went around, tightened up. Mounts are all tight, so it's nice and solid now. I hooked this line up. Got that hooked up. I had to re-bend it a little bit. It was a little off, I think, because I got a little bit thicker rubber mount here. So, but that really was no big deal. I put another O-ring in there. So now I am going to hook up this lower fuel line here. And then before I get too carried away, I get that hooked up, I'm going to dump some fuel in here just to make sure that I don't have fuel pouring out of a hole somewhere that I didn't see. Make sure that's all working. So yeah, I'll get that hooked up. We'll dump can or half a can or whatever of fuel in it. Make sure that's good. I also did I popped this one headlight out. Of course, the screws for the holder ring broke, so I got to get some nuts and some new screws for that, but I am going to put them LED lights in there too. But we'll get this done now and get it going. I'd like to, if I can get this thing running today, get it out of here. Talking some rain for the next 3 days now, so I won't get the cab on it today, but if I could get it running and get it moving, I'd move it over to the hay shed or something. And I want to get that grinder mixer in here because I need to get that bearing done yet, because I do need to grind feed too, so I can work on that when it's raining. But we'll get this hooked up. I think before I hook that up, I'm going to put a little fuel in there and just open this valve and flush it out in case there's some crud in there. I don't want to flush that into the fuel system, so I guess I'll do that first. Just to open this a little one. Okay. Just wanted to make sure there was no crud in there. There's a valve on that water separator can too, but I don't know, that looks a little crusty. I might leave that alone. Alright, I got that one tight. It's one that the filters are still loose yet. The whole rest of the system should be full yet, but I'll turn this on a little, push any air out of that line. I don't think there'd be enough in there to matter, but the less air in these diesels, the better. There we go. Well, so far it looks good. Obviously when you get it out in the field bouncing around, that'll tell the tale, but he said this tractor, this tank is off of, he said it was a really nice 830. Somebody traded in on a new tractor. I think it had a loader on it. He was driving it around the lot. He was going to go park it, and the engine locked up on it, so they parted it out. That's what this tank came from. So he said there was nothing wrong with it. And like I said, I don't see any leaking. There's the back mount, that's dry. So that's all good there. So I'll dump the rest of that can of fuel in there and stick a battery in, and we'll try and see if she'll fire up. Still not overly warm out, but I'll have to give this tractor a sniff anyway because it'll preheater on it, but I didn't have this one plugged in. So one other thing on here I want to do before I try to start this, when I pulled the air stack off, I was looking down inside. I probably can't see much now, but pull the bottom off. That tube going up through the center of this thing is really full of just crud. So I'm going to clean that out as long as I've got it in here. Yeah, that's pretty nasty in there. So we'll see what kind of crud comes out of there. I'm going to make up a little brush or something I can run down in there and push that out of there. I guess we'll pull this off here. All kinds of big crud chunks coming out of there. Probably wouldn't hurt to run it through there again. There, that's pretty good. This bottom screen on these, I don't know how many tractors have with oil bath air cleaner have this bottom section you can pull out and clean, but that's kind of nice. I didn't know this came out, but last year I got digging in here and pulled this out, and this thing was really packed in dirty, so I got it pretty clean now. You can see through it pretty good, but I always just dumped the oil and changed it and kept going, but there we go. There, that should have gained about 75 horsepower now with all that airflow added. All right, I'm gonna go through, put all the hood bolts and stuff on. I don't need to bore you with that, so I'll get that buttoned up and then we'll come back and see if she'll take off. Well, I'm not sure if that recorded or not, but we got it fired up. I might have hit the wrong button on the camera, so it's running good. Probably wasn't a lot to see anyway because it smoked us out of the garage. So, but yeah, I just got a couple of things. I got to get some bolts for the lights. Couple bolts for the hood, bolt that down, it should be ready. So I'm going to get this put away, and I can get that grinder mixer in the garage here, and we can start working on that on the rainy days coming up. So I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. God bless, and we'll catch you in the next one.